Hey, what's good? Welcome to Reflections of a DJ, the R.O.A.D podcast presented by DJ City and Beat Source. I'm one of your hosts, DJ Crooked. We got DJ Never here.
Yo.
We got Jamie the Great.
Yeah.
We got a special guest. So we've been wanting her on the podcast for a minute. She's got over 20 years in nightlife. I think she's worked her way up, from the bottom up, literally from like retail, cocktail server, marketing director, entertainment director. She's a co-founder and co-owner of Blackout Artists DJ agency. Mm-hmm. She's got a lot of bones in this nightlife, especially in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. Very, very happy to have her here. Kalika Moquin, what's good? Kalika.
Hi guys. Thanks for having me. It's funny. You're like, we've wanted her on the show for a while, and I'm sitting here thinking like, they're never going to invite me on the show.
Why would you think that?
Now I feel like I've made it in life that I'm on this podcast.
No.
You know what it is? We just get like a bombardment of DJs that come into town, and then we just get lost in the sauce of like the DJ world. Mm-hmm. And then, we always say that we want to interview more people behind the scenes and people who are in like nightlife and actually controlling everything kind of behind the scenes and everything. And you're one of those people, right?
Well, I'm honored to be here, guys. So
okay. She's like, I'm not going to say none.
I'm not going to gas myself up, but yeah, you got it.
So like you've been in Vegas nightlife for like almost 20 years, right?
Yeah, I started in January of 2004. So
2004.
Coming up on 20 years, yeah.
Yeah. So that was when you were cocktail waitress at 9 Group at the Palms Hotel Casino, right?
That was one of my first jobs. My first job out here actually was at Coyote Ugly, working in the retail department, like selling t-shirts. And I did that job for about a month. And then at the end of February, I got hired as a waitress at Nine Steakhouse. And,
oh, wow.
Yeah. And then a promoter at Ice Nightclub, and kind of just worked my way.
So you was doing both at the same time, Ice and non-group?
Yes, I was doing both at the same time. It's really funny. I was working at Nine as a waitress, and then I saw an ad in the newspaper. This is what ages me. So I was looking at the help wanted ads in the newspaper, and I saw that said a promoter for Ice Nightclub. I was like, oh, well, that sounds really cool. I'm waitressing at Nine, but I really want to get into like the actual club scene. So I went to an interview, and I remember it was Derek Silverstein and Mark J that interviewed me, and I was waiting in line with probably 300 people. Wow. For a promoter position that paid $10 an hour. I mean, at the time in 2004, that's how the industry was. It was hard to get in. Mm-hmm. Everyone wanted to be a part of it, and you were just happy to have any kind of a position, no matter what it paid, because it was just a foot into the door. So I think they hired 3 of us out of about 300 people that interviewed that day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
I'm just curious. Like usually, like nightlife is like a male-dominated industry, right? Mm-hmm. And usually, like when a woman comes in, they're I don't know, typecasted into a role as like a cocktail waitress, a bartender, a server, somewhere in the service industry, a dancer.
Yeah.
Right. You don't really see a lot of women behind the scenes, right? Like when I first moved out here to Vegas. I mean, I think there was Z Zandy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then there was
Jody.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was Jody.
Those are 2 women I really look up to.
Right.
Yeah.
And they were like the bosses when I moved out here. And I was just like, I remember going like to meetings with Light Group, mm-hmm. and there was just like 50 dudes and then like these 2 women all the time,
Yeah.
What made you want to go behind the scenes and not just, because the money is far better being a waitress, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, I've always liked, I don't know, I feel like I'm kind of a control freak in ways, and I like being in control of situations and like making things happen versus things just happening to me. And like as a waitress, I felt like it's a very kind of reactive position. It's nothing against waitressing, but you're just running around serving people, helping people. You're not making something happen. You're not creating a real experience. So I felt like the feeling I got when I was able to put people onto a guest list and get them into a nightclub, and they had the time of their life, and they're texting me the next day like, oh my gosh, it's like Saturday night was awesome. Like, thank you so much. Like, we were going to call you every time we're there. Like that feeling was better than just walking out with $500 at the end of the night waitressing. So I kind of became addicted to that and just wanted to work my way up into the industry.
So you got your taste of that at Ice.
At Ice, yeah.
And to me, when I first moved out here, Ice was kind of like, it's, obviously it's after like being in the city and hearing more about it. But when I first moved out here, Ice was off the strip. Mm-hmm. It was actually like behind the strip. Mm-hmm. So it looked a little ghetto.
It's right by Topgolf now, yeah.
Yeah, it was on what?
It was like out the way.
Yeah.
Koval and Dean Martin.
So when I heard about it, I was like, everyone was like, man, Ice was great. And I'm like, really? Because it just looked like.
Were you here for the Ice era?
I came out here 2000. I think I was here for the down of it.
Yeah, when you came out here, Ice was just like about to close.
I came out in 2005.
Oh, okay, so yeah, it was. Gosh, it really was only a year that it was just on top of. I wouldn't even say on top of the world. I don't think they did better numbers than like the Palms or Light, but it was really fun for locals to go there. And then they had all the big DJs. This was before EDM really had taken off, like even close to how it is now. But they had, Ferry Corstein, they had Tiesto, they had
AM,
Cascade,
Mark Ronson.
Yeah, like all the EDM guys played there. And I remember that's when I think we paid New Year's Eve Tiesto like $100,000. Wow. I was like, someone's getting $100,000 to DJ. It was such a huge number back then. And now it's just like a regular Saturday night, like at any of these clubs.
So wait. So even back then, the nightclubs were still booking big acts?
Not really.
No.
So back in 2004, it was definitely more about the party, the club, the celebrities that attended. I don't think they really started paying celebrities until Pure opened in 2007.
Oh.
So, which is, but like the Palms was put on the map from the real world. So you couldn't even, I would get off work at Nine Steakhouse and walk out on those steps at like 11 p.m. and it was just a sea of people to get into Rain, to get into Ghost Bar. And I think DJ Hollywood and R.O.A.D were the DJs.
So like, you remember, right? Because Light was like the first bottle service club in 2001.
Yeah,
right? Around there.
Yeah, 2002.
And then they were bringing in some open format DJs, some New York guys, maybe like Mark Ronson.
They had a couple of open format DJs that came out to Vegas to try out, but none of them did as good as expected.
Yeah, but they were like, so Vegas at this time was really dependent on the resident DJs, and then once in a while they'd have a guest DJ, but they weren't bringing these big dance and house acts like Tiesto. No. And do you think Ice kind of started that or like planted the seed for some of that?
Ice was the only club that was doing it.
Right.
So, house music fans, that's where they went, was to Ice. Yeah. And then I think Z really pioneered it, bringing it to, and Josh D was part of that too, bringing it to Jet, to the 3400 room.
Yeah.
Is that what it was called?
It was the side room, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they started that party over there. And then I feel like
it's so crazy to think now.
Yeah,
Jet Nightclub in the Mirage. The main room was this huge room with maybe 1,200 capacity. I don't know, something like that. And then there was these two side rooms.
Yeah, they were fun though.
Yeah, and these side rooms, these big EDM house acts.
But this is like before they like really blew up.
Right.
But it still had a name. People knew who they were.
Yeah, it's funny you told me you were in the main room a few times and Tiesto was in the side room.
Yeah, it was like Cascade, right?
Chilling.
That's how it was.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. Like 2005, 2006.
Yep, exactly. It was exactly those years. Yeah, and then I feel like the EDM thing didn't really take off until after the recession because that came in 2008, and then the clubs really became dependent kind of on like the local industry parties to bring in people, and they weren't spending money on Paris Hilton coming anymore and the big DJs. And then I think probably when Wet Republic opened, that's when the big DJs started headlining.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think Wet Republic was really, it was maybe like after, it was like a new like modern version of like Rehab, right?
Yeah.
Because Rehab was very spring break. It had a spring break energy. It wasn't like bottle service. And Wet Republic was like taking the European concept.
They took it to another level with the day party.
Of like Ibiza parties and bringing it, right?
Ibiza. Wait, that's how you say it, right?
Ibiza, right?
Yeah. the lips with it.
I usually,
the correct way.
Yeah. I usually say Ibiza.
I thought it was Ibiza.
I say
Ibiza.
Ibiza.
I was like, damn.
No, it's like a thing. Like it's Ibiza.
It's pronounced Ibiza. Yeah.
Okay.
Ibiza. Yeah, I remember Afrojack, all these they went from the EDC world right into Wet Republic. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Like people from LA were fiending to come here just for because that was before EBC and everything else, right? Excess and all that stuff.
Yeah, way before that.
Yeah.
Wet Republic opened, I believe, in 2008. Yeah.
So,
and EBC was 2010.
So you were in the midst, you were running around during this whole time. You were moving from Palms, 9 Group to Light Group, from Ice. It was kind of fun. You were in your 20s, right? This must have been a great time, right?
Vegas, I always thought was kind of like Neverland. It was like if you weren't ready to grow up, ready to settle down and have kids. And, that this was like the perfect place to come, and everyone was kind of in the same mindset, as you. And it was easy to make friends. A lot of people were not from Vegas, so they're also looking to connect with people. You meet people from all over the world on any given day or night. And, just the way the day would take you wouldn't even be able to expect it. Like I was like working at Bear one time and then like ended up like on a private jet and like in Los Angeles at like some Grammy party that night. Just like I think I wore my swimsuit on the plane and like found like an H&M when I got there to put a cover up on. It's just, you never know where the day would take you out here.
That's quite the story.
Yeah, there's so much that can happen, and it was so much fun. But yeah, I started at Bear in 2007. That's when
you were like a marketing director.
I was the marketing director. Yeah, I had worked for the Light Group in 2006. I actually got a job as a promoter at Jet, and then they put me to work the front door. And I thought I was a big shot at this point. I was like, oh, I'm working the front door at this new hot club, and
what does that entail? Actually, what does that entail though? Like, I'm always
don't let them in.
I'm always curious about that.
Yeah.
They have these meetings. They have you in there. Is it one of it like? And also, I'm wondering in these environments, right? You're in there. You're probably maybe the only woman in the room. Are they like, let's give this girl a chance? She's doing well, or like it
was kind of just right place, right time. I was a promoter, and then I remember Dave Roberts was running the door.
Right.
I think someone like didn't show up that night, and they were just like, they gave me a clipboard. They're like, actually, Dave gave me a crash course. He's like, have you ever worked the front door? I'm like, no. He's like, you're about to learn.
Damn. That's literally that's how it works. That's literally all of Vegas.
Yeah, and he just threw me at the front door, and I was just like, okay. And I just was kind of looking what the other hosts were doing and trying to follow their lead. And I actually though ended up getting fired after doing this for a few months because I was too nice. That can be a downfall of mine sometimes. And I know Light had to have a guest list every week on Mondays.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I felt bad for the employees that didn't have a guest list. So I was just marking down and tallying it up so they would get credit, even though they didn't have people come in. And they like caught wind that I was doing this. And one night they switched me out of doing the guest list line. And then like the employees didn't have nearly as many people come in. So I got fired from that. And they put me back at Light as a promoter, and it was miserable. And then I was trying to tell like Stephen Lockwood, who was the marketing director of Jet. I was like,
Stephen Lockwood. Yeah.
I was like, I really want to get back into Jet. Like whatever position you have, can I be your assistant? Can I do anything? And he didn't really respond to me for a while. And then I remember it was like the beginning of February in 2007. And I get a phone call from Stephen, and he says, hey, Kalika, I have an opportunity for you. The Mirage is opening up this new club. This new pool club. It's called Bear Pool. It's going to be like the hot new thing. It's going to be the new rehab. They're looking for a marketing director. He's like, I'm going to get you an interview, and if you fuck this up, you'll never work in the city again.
Damn, fucking
This
pressure.
is exactly what he said to me.
They told you that too? They told me that many times.
Luckily, you're here.
So, but I would like to say I got the job, and I held that job for 7 years. So
Right.
hopefully I didn't let him down.
Well, you started with Bear, then you started overseeing Bank and other properties, right?
So my strong skill set was, making a party out of really not having a budget, because I was at Bear and, they needed to pack that place, and the budget at Bear is not very high. So we had to get really creative with what we would do to get people to come in.
So what are like some of the things you did? Like
for like Mother's Day, I did like Shake What Your Mama Gave You ass shaking contest.
Right.
Like, we did release the twins, which was, these were parties you couldn't get away with today, by the way. Which was like, oh, come show your tits. Like,
I was going to ask you,
twins, anything for free.
When Bear first opened, was it already, was the plan to make it, was it already planned to make it topless?
It was always a European pool. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, we did lots of like the 30 under 30. We did a party called Fresh where we honored like all the new up and coming people on the scene. And the list parties were always successful because you'd invite like 30 different people and you'd recognize them, and they'd all come in and they'd bring their friends, and it would be busy. So I got really good at that. And from there, they kind of put me on Bank Sundays because they wanted to replicate what we were doing at Bear on Mondays with Bank on Sunday nights and locals. And then I started doing Liquid on top of Bear and Bank in 2011. And that year was really rough on me because I was working 6-7 days a week. And I was living at the Palms at the time, Palms Place. I was not sleeping. I was drinking sun up to sundown. So.
Wait, you was living at the Palms?
Yeah.
The Palms Place.
Palms
Yeah,
Place,
Palms,
Which was which was launched as a condo, right? Kind of.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it didn't do well, and then it became like a hotel, I think, or something like that.
It's like a condo hotel. It was like living in a hotel when I lived there. That's what I felt like. It was the studio I was in was basically a hotel room, you know.
Yeah. But you were like really close to the action.
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
much.
Oh, and I have like fucking people from the bank come over, like crash on I'd wake up with like 5 people in my bed. Like people would come over from the clubs. Like, oh, we don't want to drive home. It's 4:30. Can we come to your place? I was like, sure, come over. So it was it was a fun year. That was the last year before I had kids. So that was like, I kind of went out with a bang for my single life that year.
Yeah. That was like that era with all those parties, right? Like the Shake What Your Mama Gave You, the Gold Digger parties.
Yep.
Remember that? Mm-hmm. Why did that start ending?
I mean, I just don't think they're very politically correct.
I know it's not. I know it's not politically correct, but
social media.
But the idea of a theme party, right?
Yeah.
Why did that stop? Like there was a PolePalooza where they had this like contest for like strippers on the pole, and
it was a cool ass name.
That was a big one. I mean, popular.
That was a great party. I can't take credit for that one. That was, I think, but that was a very, very popular event.
There was like all of these parties. There was like the Gold Digger party. There was like the PolePalooza. There was like
there's a party. What's it called? Butterface.
Oh, I remember that one. Yeah,
the Butterface.
Wait,
party.
what is that?
Butterface actually had a billboard. It was these girls with bags over their face, and you had to basically judge the girl on her body So it was like they brought them out on stage, and it was like, okay, and then it's like, okay, now reveal the face, and like they had to take the bag off, and this was like a thing.
It was huge. It was huge. Y'all did it multiple times at Light Group, didn't y'all?
I know it was this was at, I think it was Jet. I don't know if it was One Oak yet.
Wait, so this was at where? This was at Jet mostly, but you guys
Jet.
did it multiple times at Jet, right?
I think so. Jet was venue, so I can't remember exactly how many times it was done, but it was one of those parties that, I mean, he would do those events and it would just, the place was slammed. And to answer your question, I don't really know why it stopped. I can only really assume that, you know, I'm not trying to like say anything bad about anybody, but the creativity with that used to exist, especially like with the Light Group, it just isn't there in some of these venues anymore. You know, I think a lot of people depend on the DJs, the big headliners to bring the people, instead of, you know, we had to sit down and spend, you know, hours in the office making phone calls and coming up with, you know, the people we want to invite in and coming up with creative ideas. We would come up with like 4 or 5 different concepts, and, you know, we'd sit there in our marketing meetings and slide them across the desk, and, you know, just to get approval on them. And Andy would sit there and say like, no, this sucks. No, not that one. Okay, this one, you know, and so we're like, okay, cool. So now we have a party. We have to make it, turn it into a real thing. So that's just what we would do every week.
Right. Mm-hmm. But I think you're right. I think it started with the EDM boom when everyone was kind of flexing their bank accounts and booking all the big DJs. Mm-hmm. And then it became like a big dick contest and who can get the biggest DJs and pay the biggest DJs out. Yeah. And then I think everything just shifted, right? Because promotions and probably the VIP hosts, everyone was just booking tables based on the headliner. Like, oh, we got Tiesto tonight. We have this tonight. We have this tonight. Where on the other way around, it was like really kind of grassroots marketing, like promotions, right?
It was grassroots marketing. And we had some of our busiest, most popular nights with those parties.
From nothing.
Like the bank would make sometimes, you know, I don't know what's good for a nightclub nowadays, but, you know, breaking 100K was good for a night back then. And, you know, we'd have that kind of a night with, you know, spending $5 to $10 grand on a local event. You know, like, okay, we had Womanizer, whatever VIP host or local promoter, good looking guy brought the most women with him to the club, got $5 grand. That was all we spent. That was all we spent. And we'd have, you know, 10 guys with like 30, 40, 50 girls in tow. And you'd have this packed club of women and we're spending $5,000 on it, you know, so it was just different back then.
Dude, $5K a night just to hang out with women. Jeez.
Yeah, I know, right? I can't even. I mean, I remember like the Halloween contest was big. You guys were giving out like 10K prizes. I think something crazy.
Yeah, I think the clubs still do some of that, and you know, I don't want to say the creativity doesn't exist anymore because I do see the Wind still does some stuff, right? You know, and I'll see an event here happen at Hakkasan here and there. So you know, it does happen. It's not as prevalent as it was back then. As common. Yeah. It was like, you know, we would do these parties every single week.
Dude, the Butterface was crazy.
The Butterface sounds crazy.
That's really. I remember. I think I DJ'd one of those because they had like 5 contestants, and like you said, they would reveal their face, and then the winner, I would be like, I think they were like I think Steve Lockwood was in the booth with me, And he's
Is
like,
that we had to play She's a Queen?
yeah, so so I think Steve Lockwood like hit me earlier. And he's like, we're having this pageant. So I need you to get like some pageant music ready. And I was thinking of like, what's pageant music? This is all whack. So I was like, oh, let me think of Coming to America when his wife comes out, right?
She's the future wife,
So I transferred that to MP3 and I played it, and like the whole place, like I remember Eddie was in the booth dying. He was just like, yo, I can't believe you're playing this right now. And it was that Butterface pageant, I think it was that.
Some of the things you all got thrown into as DJs, I'm sorry.
It was crazy. Like Gold Digger was crazy.
Yeah.
The Gold Digger event, it was...
Is that the one that had the fake money?
The fake money.
Yeah, they had to go around. So Gold Digger was each table is given a bunch of fake money. And we'd have all these girls come in. You know, a lot of them worked at the strip club. Some would just come in on their own. And girls would have to go around to all the tables and convince the men to give them the money. And then whatever girl collected the most money from the tables at the end won like a $10,000 prize.
Right.
So
What the fuck?
Yeah, you could never. You could never do that.
Can't do that nowadays.
You can't do that now.
Kalika, you're a mastermind.
that was
okay.
but
that shit is a good idea. I mean,
But like you're behind. You're in the offices, right? While these things are getting
so
brought
this
up,
is
right?
really fun. I was one of the only women that would sit in these meetings. There was a
Right.
couple of in there, you know. So we would sit in these meetings, and I'm not gonna name names, but sometimes the conversations from some of these guys would be like, "Okay, you know what? You know what's wrong with this club? We don't have enough pussy. Like, we need to get more. We need to get more pussy in the club." And then like us girls, and they're like, "Yeah, how do we get more pussy in the club? Like, we gotta figure this out." You know?
Did you feel uncomfortable, or was you
No, it was just kind of like part of the job.
I feel like in the Wolf of Wall Street office.
Yeah,
No, definitely.
It was. So like, it's like, hey, this is what we got to do to win, guys. Like, come on. What are we going to do? And you could never get away with that kind of talk
That's
now.
insane.
Like, that person would walk out of the office, go straight to HR now and be like, you know what we just talked about in this boardroom meeting?
I picture you guys like taking shots in the meeting while you're saying this. Yeah, you know
you
what?
get your shot
We need
yet?
pussy in the club. We need more pussy.
they got the judge one.
Not enough pussy.
Here.
I'm sure someone was doing lines of coke or something. And then
Honestly, you're probably taking Xanax before these meetings. Here's the fucked up part about these meetings is they would happen every single Monday at like 11 a.m. And we had bank Sundays the night before, so we would be at the bank until like sometimes 5 a.m. drinking. Some people go to Rhino afterwards. And then like we'd have to show
to the
up.
meetings.
We'd show up at the office at like, 9:30, 10 a.m. like hungover. Some people hadn't slept, and then we'd be expected to like print out all these one sheets of proposals and like go into this meeting. And it was just like sometimes I just remember like just sweating in these meetings. Like, oh my god, like I just counting down the seconds and.
But then after the meeting,
praying you're not yelled at.
After the meeting, you had to go to beer.
After the meeting, we had to go to bear. Yeah.
Wow.
The party continued.
The party continued.
How long did you do that for? How long did you live that specific lifestyle?
That's probably from 2007 to 2011. And then
way.
I do remember, though, I think in like 2010, they moved the marketing meetings to Tuesday. That was like,
You know what? It's better we
Okay.
do this shit on Tuesday, guys.
I think enough people were like, this is not working out.
Delusional as fuck.
Like 5-6 years later to do that, right? That makes sense.
Years later.
Yeah, but I think some of it's actually kind of funny because some of the most creative ideas that we had came from those like 45 minutes before the meeting where we're like, okay, well, we've been partying all weekend. We don't have anything prepared. Like, it's like, what are we going to do? We just would pull out something like some stupid, crazy idea, like write on paper. And then they'd be like, yes, that's the party that we're doing.
And then you have what? Who showed up to the meetings? Is it like, was it the owners like Andy Massey and Andrew Sasson?
How many times did Andrew flip out on you guys?
Well, the thing,
Kailka. How did he say your name? Kailka.
the whole thing was like to try to make it to the meeting without getting kicked out of the meeting.
Damn. There was a goal. Get through the meeting.
So it's like I said, I think some people.
Why would he kick you? He'd just be like, "That's the dumbest fucking idea I've ever heard. Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out."
I think it went exactly something like that. Yeah, I think you did a really great impression just now.
Yeah,
He's really good at that.
we witnessed it. We went to what was it? The shit in Montreal. We went to
the retreat. It was like a retreat for the
I heard
for
stories
managers.
about that. I didn't know that one, but
crazy. We saw like 3 people get kicked out, right?
Yeah.
It was
actually 2 people
2 people
got kicked out.
I think isn't that the one on a fight with?
Yeah, that was
I heard that story
in the hotel. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, just the stuff that happened back then. It's crazy. I feel like I only got really screamed at like once or twice though, and I probably deserved it both times that I did.
It's not bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one time I put an ad out for a big event that we were doing, and I submitted the ad with the wrong date.
Oh,
Like came into the meeting, like threw the fucking Las Vegas Weekly on the table. And like, who submitted this ad? Like, they're like, get the fuck out.
Did you ever get broken down, like cry and be like, oh my God, I can't do this shit? Like this. I'm wondering that
No.
even in the 4 or 5 years that you were like living hard, like just like fucking going at it hardcore, Sunday, Mondays, Sunday bank, bare Mondays, drinking all week, going on, you know. Did you ever have a moment where you're like, I gotta change, I gotta stop drinking, I have to like relax the fuck out?
A couple times in 2011, and that's where I feel like I pushed myself really hard. I remember after my birthday party at Jet. Okay, this was also really fun. So we, you know, since we were in control of all these local parties, we could come up with crazy ideas. So I remember in 2011, it was myself and Megan R.O.A.D and Stephen Tomes and a couple of people. We all had birthdays in July. So, you know, and at the time we were also spending, you know, money on bringing in some artists, like, you know, we'd have 50K on TI or Akon or whatever it was, you know. So I went to Andy and I was like, hey, we want to do a big joint birthday party. How about instead of paying an artist 50 grand, we'll bring the same amount of people to these venues, but give us all the money to spend on our party. And they were like, he's like, okay. So we took this 50 grand and we did, I remember it was Bank Sunday and Bear Monday, but we did 25 comp rooms at Bellagio Sunday night, 25 comp rooms at Mirage Monday night, open bar at Bank for everyone we brought, open bar at Bear the next day. We had suites, 4 suites for after parties. We had party buses.
Actually, I remember that.
Dinner, a dinner for 70 people at Yellowtail. I mean, it was just crazy.
Quite the extravaganza.
Yeah, and
It's like a Brewster's Million.
Yeah.
And I remember after Jet that Monday night, this was 2011, so I was working all the week leading up to this party. Obviously, I was partying all weekend, and then I remember waking up like on Monday, and I couldn't go to the meetings that week, and I was just dying, and I was like, okay, like I really felt like I had to go to the hospital. Like I was like, okay, something has to change. Like I can't live my life like this, and I actually think I really prayed on it. And I was like, I really, really need to change my life right now. Like, I can't keep doing this. And then, you know, less than a year later, I was pregnant with Kennedy. So,
oh wow,
I think that was kind of like
you
the
manifested.
change. I manifested that change in my life.
That's a blessing from God.
Yeah, it really was. So.
Having a baby gonna change a lot of shit,
Sit
right?
your ass down. God was like,
That was a complete 180 then, huh? Like,
yeah.
as
So
far as lifestyle.
I remember when I became pregnant, you know, obviously you go through a lot of emotions and you think, okay, you know, what should I do in this situation? And I do remember like thinking back, being like, okay, well, Kalika, you asked for this. Like you prayed for a change in your life, for a major change to happen. And this is what the universe has presented to you. So this is what you got to do. And you got to go with it.
So like, you know, was it a coincidence that around that time you started Blackout Artists, the DJ agency?
So Blackout Artists, see, I had Kennedy in 2012, and actually I started working on Blackout while I was pregnant. So I started kind of putting together ideas for like a DJ roster.
Well, where did that come from? And we didn't really talk about it enough, but I feel like it really started with Bank Sundays, right?
So Blackout really started because I was working as marketing director for Bank Sundays.
Right.
I became very close with Karma and Icon. And I also kind of noticed just this thing that we were bringing in, not just at Bank, but at all the venues. We'd fly in a lot of out of town DJs, like from LA,
right,
or from New York, and we'd pay, you know, $2,000-$3,000 for them to come in. We'd pay for their flights, their hotels, and I was like, well, I think the resident DJs do a better job. You know, I was just like,
and Karma and Icon was the Sunday residents.
They were Sundays, but then I was working,
and I think Five was like
Q,
rotated,
it was
right?
Q, Shift, Five, like all these DJs that were playing that were local to Vegas. I thought were doing better than the guys that we were flying in. So I was just like, kind of a waste of money. And so I was always a really big advocate to have like the resident DJs play and to not bring in all these out of town guys. So and then I thought that they were underrated as well.
Right.
And how talented they were.
And let's emphasize that this Bank Sunday party was maybe one of the best parties at that time.
It was cracking.
Industry party.
It was the best industry party at that time.
It was. And the DJs, I mean, Karma was the main resident there, and, really helped bring that party to another level.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so
he's a great DJ.
At the time, these DJs weren't playing out of town. They were just, playing in Vegas. And I really felt like there was an opportunity there to put together, a roster of these DJs and try to sell them outside of the market. So that's basically how Blackout started.
Right. And it's kind of one of those things too, where like there's all these other agencies. Mm-hmm. So there's like Scam, there's DGI. I think
Dexstar.
Well, Dexstar was maybe on its way down.
Yeah, I think it was gone by that point.
It was gone. When AM passed, Dexstar kind of like ended. Mm-hmm. But there was this kind of opening. There was this like open market for more DJ agencies with like maybe like unknown talent that could have filled this gap or this, you know what I mean? Like,
well, there wasn't a Vegas-based agency. So that's where I was like, okay, I can make a roster of these guys who I know crush it. I know they're good DJs, and they're going to show up and they're going to do the job, whether it's in Vegas or outside of Vegas. So, and I also felt like I was just helping my friends. Like, these are guys I've worked with for, 4 or 5 years that I've become really close with. So it was just, I felt like a kind of a win-win for all of us. Like, okay, if I help get you guys some work out of town, and then, I make a cut of that too. And, it helps everybody. So,
and were they voicing also some of their frustration too, of just being like, hey, we're stuck in Vegas, or we should be out there a little bit more, or anything like that?
Not really. I think
because I think everyone was trying to get signed to Scam, and then Scam was like, no. So then it was like, if you're not on Scam, then there's nothing. Yeah. And so that's what I was talking about. There was this absence of all these like talented DJs that weren't signed to Scam, that were just in limbo because like Scam kind of dominated the open format scene at this time. It was like Scam or DJI, right. I think, right at that
You're
time.
right. Everyone was trying to get on Scam at the time. I remember, because that's kind of, if you were on Scam, that was kind of what catapulted you to play outside of Vegas, or to travel and be a traveling DJ. I think that's the next step DJs want to get to.
Because I remember like DJs coming to me and me co-signing. Mm-hmm. Also, at the beginning, I would have to co-sign DJs like to Sujit.
It was kind of like a group
thing,
right?
Yeah. So I remember trying to co-sign Karma and all of these guys, and some of them went through, and some of them just didn't go through.
Yeah.
I mean, Sujit would look at a DJ. It reminds me of the Comedy Store. You know, I forgot who's the chick at the Comedy Store.
Mitzi.
Yeah, Mitzi. It was like Mitzi at the Comedy Store. She kind of like handpicked who got passed and who didn't. And Sujit was just like that guy that was like looking at these DJs. Like,
Sujit was Mitzi.
There's no marketing power with you. You don't have the right look, or you're too this or too that. And then there's this like collection of DJs,
like American Idol.
Yeah. And there's these collection, but he wouldn't listen to any of them, right?
Yeah.
It's just basically on appearance, or I don't know what it was. He would just like kind of come to this deduction of it was this DJ Scam worthy or not.
Yeah.
But there was, like you said, there was a group of talented DJs that were just in limbo. That were kind of just stuck with these, and they didn't have the marketing or promotion behind them, or the contacts or resources outside of Las Vegas to travel and
you're exactly right. And that's what my experience came from working for the Light Group was marketing. So, and then when I became pregnant with Kennedy, I couldn't keep up with the same kind of schedule I had, working Bear and working Bank and Liquid. So I left the Light Group when I was 5 months pregnant. It was all on great terms. I was just like, I can't keep up with this kind of schedule. I'm going to have a baby. Mm-hmm. And so that's when I decided to start Blackout Artists.
Were you scared though too? Like, what am I going to do for,
I remember at the time I had a little bit of a financial cushion. I don't think it was anything crazy, but it was enough to like get me through 6 months.
Right.
So I had some time to focus on having this baby and building a business. And then I had Kennedy in August, and then we launched, the first booking I ever got for Blackout, I remember, was in November.
Who was the first team?
The first.
Wait, who came up with that fucking name too?
Yeah, but I was gonna ask you.
It's like it's the most hood name I've ever heard in my life.
So
Blackout.
We had like a list of probably 20 different name options.
Do you recall any of the other ones?
Maybe that was Kalika's reputation, yo. She would black out.
Here's where the
I was like, what we used to do?
This is where the name. I don't remember who exactly it was from, but we always used to say at Bank Sundays, it's never a good Sunday until someone blacks out.
Okay,
that was
there
like
you go.
the thing.
That sounds good. Yeah.
So that was,
Check.
you know, and it was like we'd have those shot glasses you saw the DJ with Bank Sundays, like who could make the higher tower of shots that you take, you know, and who can keep standing the longest without getting like wheelchaired out. So that's where the name actually came from. Is we were joking about it one day. We're like, well, it's never a good party until you black out, you know, and then we're like, oh, that's actually kind of a cool name. Let's put it on the list. So, and then we just kept coming back to that name. I think it was the original roster was Karma, Icon, Eric Forbes, Q, I think Big D, Loxy, and Shift. Loxy and Shift was the original roster. I hope I didn't forget anybody.
And then what was you were saying the first booking? What was it?
It was actually Icon and Karma playing together in this place called Naughty in Cabo. It was the grand opening. And I was so excited when I got that first booking for them.
Wait, so how was this? How did this go about? You like, because it says like we did some research. You teamed up with Jackulten for this or no?
So Colton and I.
And who is Jackulten?
So
because I know he had like an annual award thing, Nightlife
Yes.
Awards.
Yeah.
And I remember moving out here, and I'm like, who is Jackulten, and why is everyone obsessed about these Nightlife Awards?
Colton,
you remember this?
I remember.
Like motherfuckers would get
Yeah.
mad.
Yeah.
The best
people took
DJ
it
of
so seriously.
Yeah.
The only fight.
How he get nominated?
No, the only fight.
How did he win?
Why not me?
So no, Colton. I like to say he's the male version of me. Like we're like the same person. We've been best friends since 2004, 2005 is when I met him. He started a website called Jackulten.com that was essentially a directory for where to go in Las Vegas for clubs. And then he had all the different VIP hosts listed on there, so you could directly contact a VIP host.
So it's like almost like a napkin nights, but it's direct. It's kind of like
it's direct contact for hosts. So now
Got it.
anyone coming to Vegas could just reach the lead host on Access. So that worked at Access. So a lot of people started using this directory. He listed all the clubs. It was free for anyone, for the clubs to be listed on there. And then once these clubs started getting tons and tons of business, Colton's business model is now going to them saying, oh, no. Now if you want to stay, it's, X amount a month to be
smart
to be listed on there. And of course, everyone's making so much money from the site and referrals that everyone paid. So I skipped to this part. So when
did he launch that though?
He launched it in 2005 when Jet opened. And then I became a partner in Jackulten.com right when I was about to leave Light Group. So I actually was doing that. So I wasn't like not working during that time. I was working, but my deal with Jackulten was just that I was going to get 50% of whatever new accounts got brought in. So that was the deal I had. I joined as a partner. We worked on expanding and growing the business. And then we actually sold the company in 2014.
Wow, great.
Yeah. So Colton was just, him and I are really creative together. A lot of these industry parties, I have to give him credit for too, because it was the two of us came up with the parties together.
So that Jackulten Awards was like
so the DJ awards were the only thing we ever fought about. Colton and I got in the biggest fight over those fucking DJ awards.
Really?
I'm sorry, I love DJs to death, but you guys took it way too seriously.
I always thought
They'd be fighting for the number.
I never really gave a shit because I just didn't know who the fuck Jackulten was, and I was like, why the fuck do you guys care about what Jackulten?
Were you ever nominated
saying?
or went? Did you ever?
I don't know. I think it was so many people was upset. You was a little upset.
Everyone
I was never upset.
No,
You came up to me, you're like, man, look at these nominated. It was just like that.
I might have said that, but
I've been crushing it, crook.
He didn't say that, but he would just be like, yo, look at this shit. What is this shit?
I remember the drama that went around those awards was like times 10 of any other awards we ever did. So Colton afterwards, we're never doing the DJ awards again.
Really? So you stopped?
But y'all did it for a couple of years.
Yeah, and every year he was like, we'd end up doing it again because I'm like, well, we have to do it again because we need a party at the Mink on Sunday. Come on. And so okay. And then he'd be like,
It was like the baseball cards you got upset over.
yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that was different though.
That was different.
That was different. I didn't know who Jackulten was.
Yeah.
Las Vegas Weekly, I was just like, that's a publication in Vegas.
Yeah, no, Colton's a legend. He's such a great guy too. He really is.
Wait, so he was kind of behind a little bit of Blackout Artists? Like he helped?
So he actually did help me. So Blackout, since I was partners with Colton at the time in the website, we were kind of also partners in Blackout. So he was an original partner in that. But I would say we used the Jackulten.com site to help launch Blackout Artists too, because the site had a lot of traffic at the time.
Right.
But I would say probably the original two that really helped launch Blackout was Icon and Karma. So we were all partners in the beginning in Black Artists.
So like you're launching this agency, right? In the early 2010s, 2013 to end of 2012, 2013. Yeah, early 2010s.
Yeah.
So what are you cold calling? Are you cold calling venues? How are you gathering contacts? What did you do? Because this is kind of like the internet was out, right? Social media was just starting.
Yeah.
Like how are you gathering all the contacts and all the venues, and then you're cold calling them? You're saying, oh, this is the guy from these are the guys that DJ Bank Sundays. Have you ever been? Yeah, I've been. Well, those are the guys, and that's how you're selling them.
So I remember originally I printed out a roster. I had a graphic designer make a roster of everybody, and I printed it out, and I set up a meeting with every single nightclub in Vegas, and I went to these meetings with the people who do the bookings, and that was what I did first in this city. And then I remember the first real gig.
Did most of them know you already? Probably.
Yeah, everyone knew me. It was just I was just introducing them to something new that I'm doing.
Okay.
And then I know, obviously, I have to say, like, Andy gave me a big opportunity. He was like, let's have Blackout do. I think he gave me Bank Sundays back. I think Bank Sundays, I had left. I'd been gone for a year. There were some other DJs in there. I think actually maybe DJ 5 was in there at the time.
Right.
And then Andy was like, I'll give you Bank Sundays. You can put your DJs here every week. But I also want you helping promote and come up with some cool parties and events at the same time. So with Bank Sundays, we were able to put Blackout, the logo and everything all over the marketing. And
that had like billboards and
we had billboards, and that helped, get attention. And from there, if I knew people in other markets and other club owners, I was just like, hey, I have this roster of DJs, so let's get them through. And it probably took a good year for it to take off.
And you was doing all this by yourself, right? Or did you have help?
I think Colton came to a couple of the meetings with me, the ones that were here in Vegas, but most of the outreach I was doing myself in the marketing. Yeah.
So I got a question for you. I had a meeting with you to join Blackout Artists.
Dun, dun, dun.
And what year was this?
15, 14?
You know what? This is a year before I joined Scam, so it had to be like maybe 13 or 14.
Did I tell you no?
Who reached out first?
No, you know what? I asked at the time. I was me and you had new, and I had to like kind of rebrand myself after Jet closed. I couldn't find work, so I had to like kind of rebrand myself. So I started getting gigs and stuff, but I was juggling being that new and booking and keeping track of my gigs. So I talked to Karma. I was like, hey, Karma, is it possible I could join Blackout Artists? Can you get me a meeting with Kalika? And he made it happen. And we had a meeting at Fitz before Bank Sunday. It was a Sunday.
Y'all had a dinner,
What was Fitz?
Fitz was
the restaurant?
Fitz, yeah, okay.
Okay, yeah, and we had a meeting that Sunday, and yeah, we had a meeting, and you never called me back. And I was like, oh shit, maybe.
Yeah. So
hey, I'm gonna tell you, if I didn't call you back,
what's that all
about? It's because listen, I have really bad ADD. And I'm really kind of scatterbrained and all over the place. And I feel like people take that personally sometimes. And it's more just me probably just forgetting or thinking of another million things that came out between the time we met and I was supposed to call you. But it's nothing personal at all.
No, you know, and since I didn't get that call back, it kind of motivated me. I was like, you know what? They don't want me, so I gotta get better. I gotta get better.
I'm gonna tell you, all you probably would have had to do was shoot me and follow up. Be like, hey, don't forget about me.
So it was me because I didn't follow up.
That was the year he wasn't nominated for Jackulten.
Yeah, I know. That's so.
He was mad. He was like, yeah, nominated.
It was a bad year for never. No Blackout Artist, no Jackulten nominee.
That was the worst year. Yeah.
Wow. But that's when you hit me for Scam, right?
I never hit you for Scam.
What did I do?
Because I never, you know what? I never wanted to ask you.
I said, do you want to get into Scam?
Yeah.
And then he was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then from there, it was
finally you asked. No one wants to take me. Never.
No, I didn't want to ask you for that. I just
think Never and I come from a generation where we don't ask people for shit.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because even when I was like, I think I left the light group when you were kind of really getting started with them.
So when did you were a light group when you first came from New York?
2000. I came in 2005, but I kind of left end of 2007. So like right before.
And where did you go then?
Well, I couldn't work in Vegas for a year because I left. I had a non-compete.
Shit, I didn't know that.
Because I was supposed to go to Tao, and they were supposed to give me Tao Saturdays because I think Vice was leaving to go to Pure or something. Something was happening, so they were worried about their Saturdays.
Okay.
So I was gonna go to Tao on Saturdays, and then I left Light Group, and then Tao said, "Oh, you have a non-compete. We don't want to fuck with that. So like, come to us after a year." But during that year, I think that's when the bank and everything was like kind of blowing up. And I was just like, I was like not a part of that, but not once did I ever go to him or Five or anyone that was in my circle and I said, can you get me a gig?
Yeah.
I literally would like, I think our generation is like, we're just going to fucking figure this shit out.
And we're from New York also. So it's just kind of like
pride.
But I never I was like going out of town every week. I was going to like Kansas City. I was going to like Milwaukee. I was like going to all these cities. I mean, Milwaukee's dope and Kansas City's dope.
The Chitlin circuit.
I was in like Omaha. I was in like Omaha. I was in Idaho. I was doing
traveling
everything.
DJ. Yeah.
Every weekend, like it was like crazy. But I never once was like, yo, Nev, hook me up or anything.
But you know, I also think on the flip side of that, back then DJs were more willing to help each other give a hand up too. Like I remember a lot of DJs would help DJs get into certain clubs in certain places, you know, and it was a lot more of this like commodity. And now I feel like it gets competitive.
Well, everything was a cosign then. And you know what? Surprisingly, it's still like that now. Like a lot of things are, you know, about a cosign.
Yeah.
But I think back then, it took a lot to be a DJ, right? It was a lot of sacrifice. Like before Serato, you had to collect records, you know, it was expensive. It wasn't glamorous, you know what I'm saying?
Long sets.
Long sets.
I see fucking, all right, let's bitch for a second here. I book these EDM DJs too. And like it used to be like 2-hour set. Okay. Then it's like 90 minutes. Now I'm like seeing like these motherfuckers we'll play 75 minutes, 60 minutes. Like
the clock DJs,
like,
bro.
When did this happen? Like why is it so hard to play a 2-hour DJ set?
Because they're not DJs, right? They're producers.
Crazy. Yeah. It's crazy, but still, like you're getting the amount of money you're getting paid to play 2 hours and shop about it.
Wait, so like on average, what are you paying an EDM DJ for an hour?
It just depends on the DJ, you know. I mean, these DJs are anywhere from, you know, they have a name and they move some tickets. I would say 7,500 up to some of these DJs are for like 500 grand now.
Right.
You know,
or 75,000 or 7,500.
7,500, like the low end for a DJ that moves any tickets.
Okay.
Yeah.
7,500?
That's what she said. That's what I was like.
Oh, okay.
For like a DJ that's going to sell tickets. Like there's DJs out there for 3,500, $5,000, but you don't really see them moving tickets.
Right.
You know, unless they're just up and coming and they've got like that, like, you know,
that buzz going.
Yeah, kind of that buzz behind them, the hardcore followers. But.
So like you're doing, I heard a rumor about Blackout when it was popping. When you guys, there was these rumors, right? Because everyone talks shit, you know?
Of course.
Everyone talks shit. Especially if you're, especially if you're doing well, everyone's going to talk shit, right? So like at the time, I remember everyone was talking, like there were people talking shit. And the biggest thing was that Blackout Artists was the biggest undercutters. Like you guys undercut everybody. So you came in and it was like,
so.
That was the rumor that you came in and like dropped the price down and like, well, my DJ will do half or something like that. Cause like they would come to me and they would be like, fucking Blackout, you know, they coming in.
I used to hear it also.
Yeah. It was just one of those rumors that you guys would like undercut.
I've never take less for a DJ. I think back then in 2012 and 13, it was like.
So they were just talking shit, is it?
I think talking shit. I mean, obviously, I want my DJs to make as much money as possible because I'm gonna make more money. Like I'm not, I'm not trying to have someone show up and work and not get paid much for it. But I hate undercutters too.
I think their thinking was that to get your foot in the door, that you had to say like they'll do it for, you know, whatever.
No, I never undercut it. What I did do though was offered marketing assistance, which, you know, some of these other agencies couldn't do. And that's just because I had the contacts in Vegas. I had databases through Jackulten.com. I had a database through Blackout Artists. I had a lot of local industry contacts too. So I could say, hey, book this DJ and you're going to get the DJ to show up. And I'm sure they'll do a fine job, but you can book my DJ. And I'm also going to, you know, promote it on all these different outlets and get some tables and get some marketing behind the event. So I think that was a big, you know, a big draw, like carrot, I guess, dangled to some of these clubs that were they're like, okay, well, I'll get a good DJ, but I'm also going to get a lot of marketing support that I wouldn't have otherwise.
Do you enjoy working with these DJs? Like,
are you over it yet? It's been 10 years, Kalika.
I just don't like when I think of like people come to me and they're like, Crook, like I give people like advice. Like I have young DJs call me all the time. And they're like, you should start an agency. And I'm like, I don't want to deal with you guys. You know what I mean? Like, you're the fucking last fucking people I want to deal with complaining about your name isn't big enough on a flyer. Or why did they use that picture on a flyer? Yeah. Or it's just some stupid shit that I have to fucking deal with, some ego shit, Like, I don't want to deal with that.
Oh, yeah. So this is, I changed the model of Blackout in 2020.
Pre-pandemic or?
Right before the pandemic hit.
Wow, okay.
So I changed it because kind of for this reason. I obviously started Blackout because I wanted to help my friends. I saw a lot of talent. All the right reasons were there for wanting to start the agency. But then, as the agency grows and, DJs start working more, they kind of become a little bit more dependent on the agency.
Right.
So how I kind of thought of it is like, I already have 2 kids. I have myself to worry about. Like, the last thing I care about is a DJ texting me like, why do I have to open Saturdays in May? Go find 2 gigs then. I don't care. Like, don't depend on me to fill your schedule all the time. Like, I will do the best I can. I will reach out to
you get those calls like, April's looking a little light. What's going on?
Oh, I can tell you, every time DJ Shift posts I love Shift to death, but every time he posts his little lineup,
his monthly calendar.
Every day
I know I'm gonna get 5 calls.
When they see that shit.
Yo, why shift so heavy? But he does the promoting stuff.
DJs are such fucking,
divas.
Prima donnas.
No, you know what they are? They're kind of like, if you're eating more than them, they could have like a table of like
everyone's feasting, but
everyone's feasting. But if you have like just one extra dessert on your table,
side?
They'll look at you like
that extra biscuit.
They'll let Kalika, he got a dessert.
Like, and that's the thing. Listen, I love DJs, so I'm not trying to, but I'm just saying, like, a DJ will want to play at 11 Miami, and they'll be, why am I not at 11? Why am I not at 11? Can you get me to 11? So then you'll work really hard and you finally get them into 11. Okay. And then they play 11. Okay. Well, when am I going back to 11?
Yeah.
Okay,
it's never enough.
So you get them back and like, okay, well, when am I going to go to this city? It's always something new. And I don't blame them.
It's never enough.
Yeah. I don't blame them. I don't blame them. And then there's also this fine line between it. No, I'm not working enough and then working too much. I've also gotten complaints on the other side.
I'm tired.
When schedules are too crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
And like, okay, well, I'm working too much in this month, or more, it's I need a higher rate because I'm tired, or I'm this and this. There's always you can't always make a person happy, and it's not just DJs. I think that's just human nature.
No, it's DJs. DJs
never is the floor that someone would.
I know, be complaining about working a lot. It's like, come on, you should be happy. You're working.
Never will work 3 shifts a night and like 15 hours.
It's a good work ethic if you can have that.
I remember when Never was doing pools and the club, I was like, damn, how the fuck is this?
And the podcast.
Yeah, and the podcast too.
Yeah.
In between the gigs, I was like, shit, this motherfucker's a machine.
I remember at Light Group when it was like, I was trying to get out of town gigs. So I was like, I don't want to work here on a Saturday. And they're like, that's impossible. And I was like, I'll do Jet Monday. I'll do Jet Friday. I'll do Light on a Sunday. And they're like, you got to work a Saturday somewhere. I'm like, why? And
you want to work Saturday?
Huh?
You just didn't want to work Saturday?
Well, Saturdays I just wanted to go out of town. So I wanted to do Miami or San Diego, but I would fly back. But it was a big fucking deal that I didn't want, at
was
the
that
time.
because you would double your rate or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would get like, it was at that time, it was like Saturdays you go out of town. Like, it was just a big fucking deal.
It's a big night.
Yeah.
No, and I definitely, listen, I admire what you guys do. I could never stand there for 4 hours and play music. It's gotta be
well, not
hard.
Anymore, but yeah, back then.
I watched what you guys do, and just everyone yelling in your ear to do this and change this and play that song, and you're working on the fly, and it's it's a lot that you guys get thrown at you. So, and then the traveling, the late nights, the drinking, like it's
But also shut the fuck up, like you leave me alone sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the hardest part of your job, pretty much?
So what I was kind of getting to is, so in 2020, I changed the business model to, I felt like DJs were becoming kind of dependent on their schedules from me filling their schedules. And I didn't like that kind of pressure. So I changed it to now it's Blackout's a non-exclusive agency. So I just am here to kind of help fill the schedules.
Right.
But I'm not.
You're just the booking agency.
Yeah, I tell every DJ that I work with to go, please work with everyone. They can work with Sujit if they want. They can work with any agency, with Eddie. Please, I do not want to hold anyone back from work at all. And I will not take any commission off anything I don't book. I only eat what I kill.
Do you think that's the future or no?
I think that's the way it should be. I don't really like it, see how, and I feel guilty too. Like, why am I taking money out of these guys' pockets when they got themselves this gig? So if a DJ gets their own gig, like it doesn't really make sense for me to be taking a commission off of it. That's kind of how I always felt,
Right.
I think maybe if like the agency was really helping propel the career of the DJ, it makes sense. Like some of these bigger, like WME will bring on a DJ and put them under, one of their bigger acts, and then they get the DJ from going from like, $1,000 a night to $5K to $25K to their music's on the radio, and they have this whole team behind them. Then now I get belongs to that agency, and that agency is going to take a 15% commission off everything.
Right.
But otherwise, for like these open format agencies, it just wasn't really making much sense to me to be taking out of their pocket for something that I didn't help.
You're also limiting the opportunities you're having to like work with other people and book other people, right? At the same time? Or does that not interest you at all?
No, I love working with other people too. So that's when
because you would book me, and I'm on, at the time I would be on Scam or whatever, but I remember you would give me bookings and I'm like, she owns Blackout. Why is she sending me bookings?
Well, at the time, at one point, Blackout and Scam was a joint agency.
We got a divorce in 2019.
Yeah, but she was still hooking. She was still hooking me up.
I love Sujit to death. That's what we called it. We were like, sometimes you go into business.
It didn't work out.
It just doesn't work out. But it's fine. Yeah. I love Sujit to death. But yeah, we merged in 2016, and then we just separated.
Wait, why did you guys merge?
I think at the time I was in a stagnant place with Blackout, and I was kind of just seeing where then I could take it to like another level. I think I wanted some help with some infrastructure, and I was kind of venting to Sujit one day about it actually. And then he was like, well, why don't you fly to LA and let's have a chat? So that's basically what I did. And he's like, well, why don't you, he's like, how much do you make a year in commissions? And I told him, he's like, okay, well, I'll pay you that in a salary. Plus I'll give you an assistant. Plus we're going to handle all your invoicing. And I was like, okay, this sounds like great deal. So that's basically what we did. And then that was for about 2.5 years. And then I think we just got in a fight one day over something dumb. And we're like, we can't do this anymore, blah, blah. That's kind of how it ended.
Yeah.
And, we're fine now. We're great. But it's just sometimes things work out in businesses. Being in business with someone's a lot about being in a relationship or being married, I feel like. It's just, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
What was the infrastructure problem you had? Was it...
I think I
feel like payroll is a big deal, right?
Yeah, that's a big deal. Keeping track of all of the invoicing right? Who's still owes money, the travel. There's just a lot of logistics.
There's a lot of bookkeeping.
Yeah.
There's a lot of also like if you're working in Cali, you got to pay Cali tax. There's all this accounting and all of this shit involved, right? Mm-hmm. And were you just kind of all handling this by yourself, or did you?
Yeah, I was handling it by myself.
Yeah, that's so much.
Wow, that's a lot.
Now I handle it by myself again. So it comes full circle.
Oh wow! So yeah, I mean, scam artists they're pretty good with the payroll and invoicing and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so
they're great. He's definitely got his infrastructure down. Like there's so many things that Sujit and Scam does that's like admirable, and that's why he's been able to like expand on the level that he is. And I feel like I probably haven't been able to expand on much more than I've always had. Maybe 10 DJs at the most.
So I have a question. When you guys separated, did some of the Blackout artists stay on Scam?
A couple did.
They did?
Yeah, Kyle, Flesh, and Wellman stayed with Scam. I think they're doing well. And
was there any animosity? It was like, why?
No, I gave everyone an option. I was just like, and I almost felt like I was jerking the DJs around because I was like, in 2016, I called them like, hey, we're going to join Scam. And some of them were like, oh, this is great. And some were like, okay, we'll see, and then all of a sudden, I'm like, never mind, we're separating. And, so I felt like if they wanted to stay, they're happy and comfortable.
It really was like a marriage and you bring your kids in.
Yeah, it was. It was like that.
The modern family.
The Brady Bunch.
Like, don't get the kids to like take a side,
Some of them were like, oh, I'm going to have a dad now? Like, Sujit's going to be my dad. And someone's like, I don't want Sujit to be my dad.
I'm staying with daddy.
Oh my God, you guys. It was exactly like that.
It was like that, right? No, it's going to be okay. We're going to be a big family now,
Yes. And I'm sure you guys were kind of like, oh, we have like these brothers now.
I mean, most of like, look, Karma, Icon, all those guys, they're just like, they're homies. So if they joined, we were just kind of like, what? You know, every DJ on an agency, when someone new joins, the only thing they think about and worry about is, am I going to lose my gigs? Like, is this guy going to start taking my gigs away? And that's really, you know, and at that point, you don't, when it's the homies, it's just kind of like, oh, this is cool. This works.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I feel like everybody was on Scam was pretty welcoming when we did that merger.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel like it was.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that merger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
It was a big deal at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there was rumors that you guys were killing it so hard that it was his way of getting the competition out
monopolizing.
You know?
Oh, I didn't really feel that way. But,
No.
But
It could have been like to get you guys off the market and control like the enemy, right? Just keep your enemies closer.
Yeah,
like kind of
2.5 years, you know, then divorce.
Like if you guys were running loose independently, and if now you're under his umbrella, he can control, he can marginalize, or he can, you know, at least he has control of what's going on. Yeah, right, to a certain extent.
Yeah, and I think he was pretty good about letting me kind of do my own thing with Blackout and not making many changes. We just, at the end of the day, just saw things a little bit differently when it came to business. So
right.
nothing wrong with it.
I know, Sujit, you don't have to say anymore.
Yeah.
I know how it is.
We know, Kailka, we know.
Well, I want to also talk about, because even when, you know, Scam and Blackout weren't merged, you were still looking out for me with certain gigs.
Well, I've always thought you were a great DJ. You were my favorite DJs, Crooked.
Oh, no.
You really are. I pitch you everywhere.
Yeah.
Every account that I do.
No, I appreciate it. And it was just one of those things that I was asking, because it's like you always looked out for me, and I was just like, and I appreciated it, because I was just like, yo, like, I'm not Blackout Artists, and I'm not on her roster.
I look out for DJs that listen, at the end of the day, the clubs that I book for are my clients, and I got to make these clients happy. So I want to send a DJ into these venues that I know are going to do a great job. You know, I'm not trying to send a DJ in because he's got X amount of social media followers, or, you know, because he's trending or whatever. The reason people book DJs, like the reason I book a DJ is because I know they're going to go in and do a good job. And, you know, I always kind of struggle with this with a lot of the venues too. We don't see eye to eye on things. You know, when venues will book a DJ and expect them to bring a lot of people, or expect them to do marketing, and my thing is, it's not a DJ's job to fill your club. It's a DJ's job to make the people that are in that club stay. So when I'm looking to book a DJ, I'm like, who am I going to get that's going to make every single person in this club dance, have fun, and they're going to stay and say, oh, the music was fucking great. And that's all I care about.
Right.
So you're one of those DJs.
I mean,
that's why I like booking you.
No, but I wanted to, you know, I appreciate that. But I guess my question is also, you know, where Blackout Artists has evolved to now, and you kind of like working with guys like me and booking guys like me, did you just start seeing, I feel like the market shifted, right? To where the venues are working with venues more for convenience, right? Because they don't want to deal with 5 different agencies anymore.
So like what I was doing at Park was I was the entertainment director, and I was in charge of all the programming.
Right.
I think what I'm doing for Summer Club is Summer. It's what I was doing for Green Light Social when you were out there. I do the programming for Summit. So
is this Park San Diego, right?
Yeah.
It was huge club out there.
Yeah. So when I have a programming account, that's where, you know, I'm not just going to put Blackout DJs in there because I manage Blackout DJs. I usually have a separate deal worked out at the venue where they're paying me a monthly retainer, or they're paying me a commission on top of whatever it is that I book a DJ at. So, you know, then that gives me the freedom to just work with whoever, you know, I want to work with. And put, you know, the best guys in there.
Right.
Damn.
Are you still working with Park?
I stopped working with Park during the pandemic. And then I kind of shifted into festivals for a while, and I'm still doing festival stuff.
Yeah, you did. You launched the Blended Festival, right?
I did Blended we did 3 in 2021 and 1 last year.
Right.
Kind of ended disastrous.
I heard about it. But let's talk about 2021, right? You did 3 cities.
Yep.
It was San Diego. Was it Austin or?
We did Nashville, Austin, and San Diego.
Nashville, Austin, and San Diego.
Yeah.
And it was great. I mean, how was the festival? How is it organizing the festival? Because I heard it's like there's so much expenses. There's so much work.
It's crazy.
That you're lucky if you break even, right?
You are lucky if you break even. I've never seen someone just demanding, I need $5,000 for this and $10,000 for that. And
as soon as you say
pay the power
festival,
bill, it's $65,000. It's like, it's just, the thousands of dollars that get like thrown at you from this invoice and that invoice. It's crazy.
As soon as you send an email with festival on it, that rate just goes up for
money.
Yeah, it's not just the talent, it's everything. It's the tents, it's the fencing, it's, you know, like it's the power, any of the infrastructure, like all of the stage, the LED wall, like all this stuff is just like thousands of dollars, and it all adds up. But it's a lot of fun. I had a great time doing Blended in 2021. Unfortunately, I mean, the story's out there, so I can talk about it here. We had a CEO that was just very dishonest from My Wine Society, and wasn't truthful about the finances. He was the only one in control of all the money, and basically kind of financially ran into the ground, just mismanaged everything.
And this was last year, the second year.
The second year, yeah. So we had a really bad luck with weather in Nashville, and got rained out the first day, and then a thunder and lightning storm came the second day, and we had to evacuate the whole festival as Sick Kick was playing 30 minutes before Chainsmokers goes on. Wow. We had to evacuate the entire thing because the lightning. The CEO had declined weather insurance, so we didn't have any kind of insurance to pay for it. And then, you know, he basically just disappeared after that festival. Went completely MIA, deleted social media, deleted all of our emails. We were all left unpaid. We were all left with no answers. It was really bad for a couple of months. And then, you know, but shit happens, and you just have to kind of dust yourself off and get back up and figure out what the next thing is. So
I saw like the rumors, and I saw you made an announcement, and there was like theft. I know there was like something about theft and all of this shit. And
I don't know if it was theft or it was just really poor management of money.
Right.
But you know, he did take in a lot of money from investors. There was a lot of vendors that he had said he was going to pay, or that he had paid, that I found out didn't get paid.
Right.
You know, all of us were basically working on our pay was supposed to be like after the festival. So, you know, we had worked for like 7 months from the beginning of 2022.
Oh man.
For free. You know, a lot of us had put personal expenses on our credit cards that we didn't get reimbursed for.
What a disaster.
So yeah, it really was. And you know, that it sucks, but it also just kind of, I like to think of it as a very expensive education for me. So, you know, I'm working on some new festivals now coming up, and I know exactly what not to do.
Right.
I know
Don't you got something coming up with Nelly, right?
Yes. So I'm very close with Nelly's team, and they are doing a festival in Toronto. And they called me about a month ago, and we're like, hey, we're doing this festival in Toronto, and you know, we're not festival people. So we need someone to kind of come represent our team, our side of it, and work with the on the ground producers in Toronto to bring this to life. And do you want the job? So it was awesome. It's a great opportunity. And I said, yeah, I can do it, but I need to bring a couple of my team members on. And he said, cool. So I brought my partner, Christy Rumsey, in with the new company I have, Blackout Live, which is essentially just for this kind of stuff to produce festivals, events, to book talent that's not a DJ per se. So I brought Christy on, I brought my graphic designer on, we brought our social media girl on, and then we got to work. So that's going to be in June. It's
literally like a decade worth of resources and contacts that you've collected that's led you to this point, right? Kind of. And all the experience, all the disasters, right? All the lessons.
You have to have those lessons.
You have to have it to lead you to where you are right now, which sounds like a really perfect journey. And it sounds like there's so much more freedom for you, where you're not tied to like one thing, and you have the option to like kind of just like nourish all these different projects, right, throughout the year.
It's fun. So I started Blackout Live in the beginning. Like I said, I had to figure out something after this festival, after Blended. I was like, I can't just.
So Blended is done though, right?
Blended's done. And
That's
like,
done.
I gotta figure something else out. So Blackout Live, essentially, I had a company called iParty Inc. For years prior, and iParty was what did the Park account. It's what did the New York account. I booked a lot of stuff for Atlantic City, and iParty's probably done talent buying and bookings for almost every nightclub around, like big nightclub around at one point in time. So but it was just always like the company that, it was more like people like, oh, call Kalika to book somebody. You know, it wasn't like call iParty. It was just me, and then that was the LLC that I was using. So I decided to essentially just dissolve that and then start Blackout Live as a arm of Blackout Artists. It's a different division of it that does festival consulting, talent buying for like bigger acts,
Are you doing this with DJ Silver, right?
Silver is the partner in this, yes. Yep. So we do actually do a lot of country bookings, and that's where Silver and I really work well as a team because, I have the relationship with all of the agents, and I can, get availabilities and get offers submitted, and then Silver knows all the artists, so he'll basically, we'll have an offer in we have like Low Cash this Sunday in Atlantic City. Like we'll put an offer in for Low Cash through WME, and Silver will hit the guys on the back end and be like, hey, we got an offer in for the WME for you guys. Can you accept it? Then, they'll take it. So that's so Silver also came on as a partner in Blackout Artists in 2020 when I did the rebranding too. And he's just awesome. I know he was on your guys' show.
Yeah.
Not so long ago, but it's we work so well together, and I'm really, really lucky to have him on the team.
Yeah, he seems on it. He seems like he's on it.
He's so on it, and he knows everyone. He's just such a good guy.
Yeah,
yeah, so great at what he does. He's a DJ with a really great business sense too, which is
and he's super personable.
Yeah.
He's just a great host.
He texts me, he's like, I know you're going to have the Queen on the podcast. I was like, yeah.
He's too nice to me. Silver's too nice to me sometimes. Like, he's the
nicest guy in the world. Yeah.
Like, okay, Silver, I'm not that great.
The Queen, I love her. I'm like,
was he?
He has a good way of making people feel good about themselves, for sure.
Was he involved with Blackout Artists, the agency, before at all?
So in 2020, I decided I've always been a huge fan of country music.
Yeah.
And I really see an opportunity to get some country crossover music playing in the nightclubs. It's just it's especially now you have like Morgan Wallen and Walker Hayes and some of these Blanco Brown. They have their music is very kind of poppy, and these tracks are being played in clubs. So and there's so many country music fans out there too that. I know when I hear Sam Hunt House Party played in the club, I freaking stand up and I'm going. Yeah. I'm so excited. So
she's country,
all that stuff. So, and then some of these DJs are touring now with the bigger artists too. So Silver, he had this thing called Country Club DJs. It was a roster that he had of just some country DJs that he could put in place when he can't work because Silver is so busy. He's touring with Aldine. He's got his residency here in Vegas. He's, anytime any venue wants any kind of a country DJ, he is the go-to. And there's only so many gigs he can take.
Right.
So he started the country club roster DJs to basically be able to pass off all the gigs to other DJs when he couldn't take it himself. So I kind of saw what he was doing with that, and we were good friends. And I was just like, well, hey, how about we you take that roster and we make a Blackout Nashville roster, a subsidiary of Blackout Artists, basically. Right. So we started that in 2020. We put a ton of marketing behind it and promotion, and then the pandemic happened and that all got shut down. But it was actually kind of crazy because before the pandemic happened, the DJs we had most booked out of all the genres were these country guys.
Right.
And now it's getting that way again. I feel like
you guys still have it. Is it slowly relaunching?
Yeah. So we have a lot of these DJs are playing. I mean, they're playing the country music festivals or touring with some of these country artists. There's a lot of clubs now that are trying to do country nights, and they're trying to pair DJs with it. So they're getting booked, and
you're doing a lot right now. It seems like a lot.
Yeah.
You don't think you're overextended at all, or do you have like an assistant? Do you have some someone to help you with any of this shit?
So
and you're raising 2 kids.
Yep.
Here's how I see it. This is how I have Blackout.
Kalika, we have to talk. This sounds like a lot.
So I'm good at passing balls. That's what I'd like to say. So I'll take in a lot of stuff, and then I'll find someone to work with per project basis, and that's essentially what Blackout Live is. I don't have. They're not employees. Anyone that I have listed on there that handles marketing, that handles social media, that handles the country music division or whatever it is. They're not like an employee of Blackout Live. It's a partnership I have with these people. So, when I have a project come in, I don't do all the work myself. I'll find someone to take a bulk of it, and I'll pay them half of whatever I'm being offered to work on this project.
Got it.
So I do have a great team. I wouldn't say but it's not like a team that's on payroll. It's like all like per project basis.
Yeah, because like I've owned a couple businesses and I've hired people, and it does seem now in the climate of the way America is and the world is, it's impossible to have a payroll of people. People want their freedom.
It is.
Right? It's
You're
like
right. You're 100% right.
People come to me and I had a clothing brand and they're like, relaunch it, and this whole time I've been thinking, how do I relaunch it without hiring people, where people have ownership in the company and they're going to kind of work for themselves at their leisure, but get the job done.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's really the climate of how the future of working is going to be, where everyone's kind of an independent contractor doing what they like to do.
Yep.
And at their own, at their own time. And the whole 9 to 5 thing is kind of out the window to a certain extent. But I mean, that's exactly what you're doing, right? I mean, you kind of have that sense.
It's exactly what I'm doing. Yeah. No one's works for me. You know, we're all just partners on whatever project it is that we're working on together. And, you know, they have their responsibilities and their checklists, and I have my responsibilities and my checklists, and we'll check in with one another. Did you get this done? Did you get that done? And I guess I'll just pass balls back and forth until something gets executed. Right. So that's what we're doing right now.
And when you work that way, usually people want to work more. They're like, when's the next project?
Exactly.
Whereas when you hire somebody, they're nervous saying like, when's the next project?
Yeah.
Right.
No, and I'm very fair. Like I'm a very transparent person. So, you know, if somebody's like, okay, we need you to do this project and we're going to pay you 10 grand, or, you know, book this DJ and you get a 10% commission and it's like 6 grand and I don't want to do it all myself. I'll call the person. I'll be like, hey, can you help me program this club and with these EDM DJs, and they have a $60,000 budget. We're going to make, you know, 6 grand off of it, and I'll split that with you 50-50. And then they get to work and I get to work and we get it done. So
I got a question. Before the pandemic, didn't you start a Blackout Artists East Coast?
So we did. That was part of it. So before the pandemic,
death row right here.
It was we had Blackout Nashville, Blackout New York, Blackout Vegas. These are the 3 rosters we had for Blackout. And then, like I said, with what I do with a partnership, you know, I had Silver running the Blackout Nashville division. I had this guy JP in New York who assembled the New York DJs and was to run with that. And then I was going to handle the Vegas branch. And then,
by the way, that New York lineup was sick that you had.
The what?
The New York lineup for Blackout Artists.
It
was
Wait, what was it? What was it?
Big Ben.
Oh, Big Ben.
DJ Riz.
Yeah.
Riz.
It was dope.
How did you get in contact with Big Ben?
So that was JP, my friend out in New York. He
it.
put the roster together and he was going to take ownership of that part and run with it. And I mean, the pandemic happened and things just shut down for 2 years. And then when we relaunched, we just never really.
Because people were talking shit. They were like, not in a bad way. They were like, oh shit, this looks official.
Yeah. We had really good momentum going before. I was going into by far the busiest year of Blackout when we had to cancel everything because of the pandemic.
I feel like everybody has some good shit lined up for that year, bro.
It was
shit.
It was moving fast.
It really just forces companies and people to like just to kind of adapt, right? Just to kind of go back and figure out how they can adapt, either expand or downsize. That was the real big thing with the pandemic. That you know, some people were able to adjust and some weren't. You know, even DJs. To a certain extent.
It was. I mean, it was crazy just how that happened. I'm not gonna lie. There's a part of me that really enjoyed 2020.
I did,
yeah.
Just the break, right?
The break, because you know now,
especially you with 2 kids, like imagine you had all that time with them, probably. You know, how did that feel?
You know, it was good. What felt great was being able to go to the lake on a Monday afternoon and not have to worry about my phone.
Right.
No one's fucking emailing me. No one's calling me. No one. It's like, you know, you can't have that in life now. You know, unless you just quit working altogether. So it's just, you know, we're in an era now where everyone's accessible all the time. Either it's from your phone, your email, your DMs. Like, you know, no one really has a break. And I felt like during 2020, we all really had an opportunity to just have that break where we could focus on doing something for ourselves or on our family or kids or another hobby. And we weren't just like hustling all the time. You know, that's what it is. And now if you want to have a break, sure, you can turn your phone off, you can go on a vacation, but you know, then you kind of have this feeling of what am I missing out on? Well, I'm not hustling, so somebody else is, and you know.
What am I coming back to?
Yeah, you know.
How have you readjusted after the pandemic? Did you make any big changes in your business and personal shit?
So I came out of the pandemic doing the festivals.
Right.
And that really took most of my focus in 2021. And then, you know, so I obviously kept going with Blackout, with the Vegas roster, Silver running the Nashville part of it. And
but it wasn't like extremely busy because like, you know,
it was,
you know,
things were still opening up.
Yeah,
we never really have come back to it with the same momentum that we had going into 2020.
No.
And
people don't realize that. They, you know, like 3 years, like 2-3 years after the pandemic, it's not really back to the same shit it was.
Yeah.
It still seems like a bit of a transitionary thing in Vegas.
Yeah.
From my perspective behind the scenes, from what I hear from people,
Like it's still in limbo.
Well, the thing is, like last year was the first year that international opened up.
Yeah.
So like 2021, Vegas was killing it. But then during the summer last year, they saw everyone leave for Ibiza. They saw everyone leave for like, they saw everyone leave to go overseas, you know. But at the same time, they had all of these overseas clients come back.
Yeah.
So it was like there's still an adjustment. And I think this year we're going to maybe start seeing maybe everything kind of going back to normal, but not really, you know. Because the rates are like so all over the place too for DJs.
It's what's kind of crazy is the rates for DJs, are a little bit all over the place. The rates for some of these bigger acts though have all gone up since 2019.
Right.
And it's just like I don't really understand it because like last year ticket sales were down everywhere. You know, people because the market started to crash, crypto is crashing, like, just inflation, like people weren't spending the same amount of money. You know, people would go to a concert instead of buying 3 concert tickets for the summer, they maybe just picked one, So it's funny because
there was artist inflation before there was regular inflation for the rest.
But the artist inflation is a little bit higher than the gas inflation. It's these artists that were getting, $75,000 in 2019 haven't released any new music since then are now wanting 150. It's like, where do you justify the double increase in your pay? Like, I don't really understand that.
It's almost like they're trying to make up for the lost days that they didn't have.
So wait, as a booker, how did you react to that? How did you what was your response to that? Did you succumb to the new budget, or did
crazy. You don't have a choice but to do that. They're just it's really is crazy how much money these artists are asking for these days. And I say, obviously I book this talent. This is what I do for a living, is book this talent. And, but it's just kind of disheartening that it's putting the venues in a position where they can't win and putting promoters in a position where they can't win because the talent is getting so much money. And it also think it has to do with demand because, coming out of the pandemic now, everyone is trying to do events and parties and festivals. And there's a lot of demand for these acts. And it's not just in the United States, it's worldwide. So, you only have, if you're an artist and there's only so many dates you can take and so many shows you can do, and you're getting offers and constantly, I guess, you can probably justify raising your rate because someone's going to pay it. It's like goes to the highest bidder. But the rates are really getting out there.
Where do you see, what's your feeling on the Vegas scene right now? What's your opinion?
I think that it's due for a change.
Why is that?
It's, how many years can you see DJ face on Billboard for having it on the highway? The same DJ, It's just, I think that there needs to be, I think this is going to be a change, whether it be in some of the music. I know last year, a lot of different Latin artists were coming through. Mm-hmm. I think that was pretty cool. I don't really listen to music, but he was something different.
Right. Yeah.
I think, a couple of venues have tried to do some country crossover stuff. I think that's pretty cool. I think what Wynn's doing with Art of the Wild is cool.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, I think it's just, it's going to have to trend towards some more creative events that are also different kind of genres of music and, appeal to different people besides just putting the same DJ's face on Billboard.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's funny because we've had this conversation for a few years now. And I've said that, in my opinion, Vegas and a lot of nightclubs are using a dated formula from 10 years ago, 10 or 15 years ago. And they're still kind of repeating that formula.
And maybe the formula still works, but it's what you just said, it's dated.
It's dated. Right.
So there's nothing new and innovative in cutting edge about it.
I also think one of the problems, and I don't know what the solution is, but I don't see that there's any identity for a lot of the nightclubs because everyone's rotating DJs every weekend or rotating acts every weekend. So sometimes you don't know, I don't people come into town. They're like, it's Friday. Where do I go? I'm like, you know what? It's going to be the same everywhere. Yeah. It's just kind of, where do you want to go? It's because there isn't 5 here, or there isn't Eric Deluxe here, or Scene here, or this guy here. It's just I don't know where anyone's at. I don't know if they're playing EDM or this or whatever. I can't really tell you. The only thing I can maybe say is Dre's. If you want hip hop, you can go to Dre's.
Yeah.
But I think that's smart that Dre's has an identity for hip hop.
They do, right? And I think Jewel does a good job with open format. I always tell people, hey, open format, go to Jewel. It's just I don't know. It's not just, it's like you said, it's kind of dated. It's just the how much money these clubs spend too on some of these DJs. I just don't know how long they can stay in the green for, with this. It's just, it's kind of crazy. I remember when Vegas used to be slammed when the DJ booth was in the corner. Where you walk into Excess and it was in the corner, right. Like hidden in the wall.
It was in the wall.
And they still, but I feel like it was still just as busy. Yeah. They just didn't have that, $300,000-$400,000 overhead.
It was like a movie theater projection room. It was like way in the back. You didn't even know where the fuck it was.
I know, right? Where the music coming from?
Yeah, and liquid too. So, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I've kind of been out of the scene here for a while, so maybe I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But it just seems like, just from an outside perspective, kind of looking in, that there needs to be a change. And, I also really kind of hope that it goes back to, the resident DJs in Vegas working more too, because I think this is like, at the time I felt like this was your guys' city. Like it really was. And now I feel like it's, okay, well, this is Diplo's city, I think it's Diplo, but like these acts are like now kind of claiming, okay, Vegas is mine because I'm here every week. And, but maybe they sell the tickets to cover the nut of the club opening. I don't know. But I think that at the end of the day, it would be nice to figure out a way for these clubs to still really make a ton of money, resident DJs to play more, and just some new creative ideas flowing.
I think it's slowly happening. I think I'm actually seeing a lot more local residents like with a little more shine.
Yeah.
Especially like, I think Zook and what is that? IU Day Club? AU Day Club. They just announced like their new lineup, and there's like Altura, which is like a local Latin party that's there.
That's cool.
There's like a lot of new DJs there. Like I think shout to Maddie Salazar, who's like kind of like trying to.
I love Maddie.
Yeah, Maddie's great.
Yeah,
and I think he's I talk with him a lot, and he's really trying to like create a new like scene in Vegas. He's bringing selection. Like there's these kids that started this great R&B party, Sim City. He's bringing them over there. He's having Miles Medina, like one of the greatest DJs in the country. He's finally got a Vegas residency on the Strip.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I've heard some really great things about him.
But I think those are like the small changes that I start seeing. But it's true. Like I do see some of the other venues, and I'm just kind of like, it's the same people for the past 10 years.
Yeah.
And it's like the same acts.
Yeah. Same thing.
The same hip hop acts. Like you just get booked every, they just switch venues here and there.
Yeah.
Do you think so you don't think there's a future in like, you don't know what the future, you can't forecast in your head where you think it's going to go?
I don't know where it's going to go. I think that everything now just overall is going to be trending towards more experiences. Like everyone wants that, something that's Instagrammable, or it's an experience. It's not just, going to hear, whatever, celebrity DJs there that night. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see where it goes for sure. But I think Vegas is definitely busy. I don't see the city slowing down anytime soon.
Yeah, of course.
For sure.
Yeah. So are you people here to entertain?
And are you setting anything up here in Vegas? Are you working on anything? Besides
the Blackout DJs that are booked here, I really don't do a lot of work in Vegas. Actually, I do a ton of work in Texas. That's kind of mostly where I do work. Right. I do work in California, New York. Obviously, I'm doing something in Toronto, Canada right now. But Vegas, like I said, I have the two separate businesses, Blackout Artists, which is the DJ roster, and Blackout Live, which is talent booking and production, event production. So most of the Blackout Live stuff is all done outside the city. And that's, I think, most of these clubs have an in-house person to kind of do what I offer, the services I would offer to a venue.
Right.
And then, but the Blackout Artist DJs that I work closely with still work out here a lot.
Okay, who's your favorite Blackout Artist DJ?
You can't ask me that question. You can't ask me that. I'll do shout outs to Karma, shout outs to Kid Conrad, shout outs to Q. Shout outs to Booza. I love you. Okay, I gotta say at least all four. They at least
all four.
The four. Those are the four. I work with a lot of DJs. Those are the four locals that here, and obviously DJ Silver. He's based in Nashville. So they're like that's the core crew.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Like in this industry over the like you've been here, like you've been working in nightlife for almost 20 years, right?
19 years.
Yeah, 19 years. So like in this industry, like we were kind of talking about, the light group days, and I was just like, I wonder what's Kalika's like most scandalous like experience, or like what was the most scandalous shit you ever witnessed in Vegas?
Like, God damn.
In Vegas?
Yeah. Where you were just like, to this day, you were just like, what the fuck was that?
And you know, bleep our names.
All right, I mean, I'm going to tell you, there was a lot of fucking going on in the amp room.
I've heard stories about that.
Wait.
A lot of clapping was going on there.
A lot of shenanigans.
Where was the amp room? Where was the amp room?
It was kind of downstairs. If you go into the bathroom, it was like this hidden
It was in the
door.
middle, right?
It's like this door, and I think
How big was it? Was it like 10 by 10?
it was like this.
Is it bigger than this room?
Am I gonna now incriminate myself that I've been in there?
Yeah, of course.
She may or may not have. She's seen it from afar.
I think I like walk out of there.
Walk out of
one
the amp
night.
room.
Yeah.
Bleep that, yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of a thing. It was like, oh, you can go into the amp room and just because you could go in, you could walk in the door, and then there's like another door, and then like kind of hidden like under. You could go like under this like crawl space.
Damn.
So it was like a cave.
It was like Harry Potter's room, yeah.
And it was just like, who's taking the turn in the amp room tonight with, everyone was hooking up with everybody. Waitresses hooking up with bussers, like DJs hooking up with whoever.
I'm gonna take my 30.
Like,
You gonna take your 30?
yeah.
Meet me in the amp.
They had a room like that at.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, it was like right behind the DJ booth. There was these 2 rooms. It was like 2 amp rooms, and it was the same thing.
The same thing happening there?
Yeah, there was some crazy shit going on back there. I remember like the lighting guys. It was like they would create like a sanctuary there. So there was like one of the lighting guys. He was a comic book fan, so he had all these comic book posters on the wall.
That's pretty sick.
But then there was this one night where like everyone was just going in the rooms and just wilding the fuck out, just like
All his
smashing all night, and all of his posters got ripped the fuck up. And he was
Damn.
like, he was fucking he had like a tantrum. He was going off on everybody. He just fucking flipped out. So I understand the amp room
Yeah.
thing.
That was being quiet over there. You have no amp room stories?
No comment.
Damn. She's turning red, so let's just end it there.
I'm staying quiet. Right? Shit.
So Kalika, thank you so much for coming on this podcast. You know what I'm
Thanks for having
saying?
me, guys. This was a lot of fun.
And then, I just want to let you know, like, we all have a lot of respect. You put a lot of bones in this industry. And, personally, I want to tell you thank you for a lot of things, like looking out for me throughout the years and whatnot. But, thank you for coming through. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. All right. Thanks so much for having me.
If you want to watch more episodes from R.O.A.D Podcast, click either links on the left or the right. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page and get updated on new uploads throughout the week. Peace.